Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Scientific Reasoning Module 1, Full Fraud. My name is Hui Wang. I am an Associate Professor at Department of Agricultural Science Education and Communications, Purdue University. This professional development is part of industry-driven integrated STEM and system approach to innovative incubation project. The project is funded by USDA and IFA, and there are 5 modules in this series. The module will use the roadmap to guide your learning experience. The first module focuses on the definitions of a scientific reasoning. What is data? What is evidence? In short, scientific reasoning encompasses core reasoning and problem-solving competence, which we will address this in the Module 3. Scientific reasoning also involves process of inquiry, experimentations, evidence evaluation, inference, and interpreting results that support or refute the hypothesis, which we will address those in the Module 2.1 and 2.2. As for the last module, we will focus on how you apply scientific reasoning in your classrooms. There are other definitions of scientific reasoning. Some scholars define scientific reasoning as a type of reasoning that will involve the generations of hypotheses and the systematic testing those hypotheses. Others use a similar definition as we used in this series of models. Scientific reasoning could be considered as a type of skill that need to be intentionally cultivated. People need to intentionally practice those skills to become a scientific thinker. There are 4 types of knowledge: inquiry, experimentation, evidence evaluation and inference, and argumentation. Those are skills people need to conduct scientific reasoning. This series module will focus on the type of knowledge that relate to inquiry, experimentation, and evidence evaluation and inference. There are also action outcomes associated with the type of knowledge. For example, when evaluating evidence, a person needs to know how to analyze and synthesize data. In general, what a person already knows will have huge impacts on how he or she asks for more information, conducting investigations, and analyze and interpreting data. This figure shows 3 major components involved scientific reasoning. As mentioned earlier, that content and prior knowledge will have huge influence on how people conduct scientific reasoning. Some scholars call the content or prior knowledge as domain-specific knowledge. For example, do you know the different types of a full fraud? Do you know what is adulterated honey? In general, content or prior knowledge is content-specific. To conduct specific scientific investigations, it also requires knowledge skill, such as generating hypotheses and design process for data collections. This type of knowledge also is known as domain general knowledge, which is content-free knowledge and skill. For example, when a person knows how to generate a good hypothesis, the skill can be applied to a different context. As for reasoning, when a person reasons something, the person combines both domain-specific and general knowledge and skill. We will discuss this in more details in the Module 3 when we introduce inductive, deductive, and adductive reasoning. Now, let's switch the gear to discuss what full fraud is, which this is the content knowledge part of this module. In short, full fraud is a knockoff for food. Full fraud is a collective term used to encompass the deliberate and intentional substitutions, additions, tampering, and misrepresentations of food ingredient, or food packaging, or false or mislabeling statements made about a product for economic gain. Less expensive products are substituted or market as more expensive product. So now you kind of get a sense why people doing that. Why would someone commit a full fraud? It is all about profit, money. Full fraud caused a big problem for food industry. It estimates $50 billion lost per year for honest and decent food companies. There are many types of food fraud. This table shows a few common types of food fraud. For example, mislabeling is a common type of food fraud. You might be surprised how often you might be a victim of food fraud, such as just looking at your orange juice that you bought. Have you thought about the orange that you bought? Is truly 100% pure orange juice as what it is labeled on it? Or when you bought an organic food, are they really organic? Or if you paid a lot of money to buy olive oil, have you thought about your expensive olive oil has been diluted with other cheaper oil, such as sunflower oil? Full fraud is around us in our everyday life. Maybe this is happening in your house now. Some full fraud can cause serious problems. For example, in 2008, millennials was added to increase milk proteins concentrations after it is diluted with water. 6 baby dies and estimate 300,000 babies become ill from contaminated milk in China. Well, have you thought about that alcohol that you drink is not real alcohol? A case happens in Ukraine in 2016 that more than 50 people have died after drinking counterfeit alcohol. This is another example. Due to its high economic value, as well as its unique sensory and nutrient value, olive oil is at high risk for food fraud. Please read through the blue text, and based on this statement, what type of food fraud do you think commonly could be found for extra virgin olive oil? What is your data, evidence, to help you make your inference or your theory? Before you start thinking about the questions, let's talk about the differences between data, evidence, and inference. Data is raw information with no judgments attached. Evidence is a piece of information that supports a conclusion. Information that shows whether hypothesis is true or not. In the PK-12 education setting, where can you find the evidence? Well, it could be personal experience. It could be the observation that you made, or it could be found in the textbook, journal, or newspaper, those documentary evidence. Data is like a piece of puzzle. When you put in puzzle together, that becomes evidence. When you complete the big pictures or the pictures of the puzzle, it represents that it's you inference and then you have a theory of what you see or what you thought. Now, let's answer the question. What type of food fraud do you think commonly could be found for extra virgin olive oil? What is your data, evidence to help you make your inference and theory? Please take a few minutes to think about those questions. Here are example answers from me. What is your data? 100 kilograms. Spent. Italy. What is your evidence? 345.8 per 100 kilograms in Italy. I think one type of food fraud, based on the data that gave it to me, could be a food company label its olive oil its origins from Italy when it actually was produced in Spain. I think this is mislabeling. Or I think a company can add olive oil from Spain into Italy olive oil to reduce the cost, but still sell its very high price as it is 100% Italy olive oil. I think this is a substitutions. However, others might think this type of food fraud is mislabeling or dilutions. Therefore, different people could interpret the data differently. Do you have the same answer as my answer? After you have learned the definition of food fraud and the different type of food fraud, what inquiry do you have now? What other foods are vulnerable to food fraud? Why do you think so? Take a look around your house, or just take a look of your olive oil, your orange juice, or even milk. Do you think you are a victim of food fraud? Why do you think so? What is your data and evidence to support your inference and your theory? Now, please fill out the reflection question in the Google Classroom. Tell us what you have learned about scientific reasoning, data, evidence, and the type of food fraud. In the next module, we will focus on the different type of scientific investigation that use adulterated honey as an example. Thank you for watching. If you like this module, we will also have another module that focuses on the integrated STEM through agricultural food natural resources. Check out the module and website by click the link in this slide. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me. Thanks USDA NIFA for supporting the project. Thanks for the project co-director Dr. Neil Nabla and the graduate students Brianna Nielsen working with me and giving feedback to the module. Thanks for Dr. Crystal Hans serving as the content expert for the module. I'll see you next time.